Roll track. Easy music. Truman, hey man, how's it going, brother?
How are you?
Yeah. How are you? I'm doing great. Just got back from McDonald's actually, and but then the podcast started, so I put my fries in the little oven. I'm gonna heat them up later. But welcome to the Difference Is You podcast slash YouTube show. I'm not actually on Spotify, so I call it a podcast because I think it sounds cooler when I say I have a podcast because everyone's got on YouTube now, right?
Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
and podcast kind of conveys a certain idea of yeah, like just what you're doing.
Yeah, but I'm not on. I will be on Spotify soon once I actually figure this shit out. I'm just kind of like going, full steam and not really looking where I'm driving. But Truman, I was introduced to you by our good friend Peter. Now I'm a little like. Man, you're like I feel like you're like a spiritual kind of guy. You know something about yoga and meditation, and that's kind of like all I know. Why don't you tell me and the audience about Truman Chan and what Truman's all about?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of explored a lot of different paths. Of course, the spiritual path, a bit. Just I'll be humble there. Like I don't, you know, kind of looking for stuff and definitely want to explore, but mostly just meeting people, trying things, and reading books.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean the other stuff, um, like IT background,
Okay.
undergrad in business.
Okay.
Um, Grew up in Southern California. Lived up in NorCal for 7 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean there's a lot of different stuff that like yeah, I mean these days I'm kind of interested in more like the kind of grassroots civic participation, getting people to
Mm-hmm.
show up local, like, just kind of show up in your local city and make your community better. Just link up with
Okay.
people and making stuff happen. Yeah.
Okay. And has that always been a thing, or is there some kind of recent change in your life that made you a little bit more selfless, or?
Dude, so, I mean, I think for a lot of people, like, they try and what they try and affect in the world is kind of for themselves. It's kind of to fix something
Mm-hmm.
that they see, that they experienced, or that they grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
um, and hopefully it comes from like a healed, centered place instead of just yeah, just maybe like projecting or yeah, other kinds of like just perceived trauma or just experiences that you've had.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So I guess what I wanted to know is, have you like always been such a good dude, or was there some kind of event that like you were like, well, I better start helping the world now, because I have my answer. I want to see what yours is.
Hmm. I don't know. Like I have phases, but I've never been one to like not empathize and like if I see like a plastic bottle on the ground, I think I've always been the type to pick it up and take a couple steps out and just grab it.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
the guy who threw the plastic bottle off. I'm just kidding. No, I don't like littering either. That just like it seems like a dumb thing to do. Yeah.
yeah, and just yeah, just like it's also just noticing the effect, like the compound effect of like just one small action. Um, and yeah, I'm not super like I don't have like a systematic way of kind of convincing everyone to do that. That's kind of what I'm exploring these days. But yeah, I mean, just doing my part to a certain extent. You know, I'm still like, uh, I still have to think about it if like people ask me for money,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, just kind of other situations. But yeah, yeah,
What is this people asking you for money? Is this like homeless people asking
yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Tell me what your take on that is.
dude. So I I had this like kind of crazy social experiment idea where um, if every homeless person that I encountered or that I come across on an intersection, um, if I give everyone I encounter $1,
Mm-hmm.
I'll still be fine. You know, like I'll still be perfectly fine, and hopefully I've helped them on their way. But and the other day I was kind of explaining this to Peter, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of true. But then that same day, like the same homeless guy walked into a cafe and asked us for money twice, like
Mm.
two different occasions. So first
He
time,
forgot.
I don't know, and that tripped me out. It was like the universe testing me right away, and I didn't know how to react. Like I was just staring at him, like, and he gave the same exact like kind of talk or ask. Yeah, that he kind of pitched the same way, and yeah, I couldn't give him the money the second time, and I don't know, man. It was crazy.
Well, like, man, I don't know. I want to feel like I have a lot to say on this, but I really don't, or maybe I do, right?
It's a lot to
Um,
unpack, right? Like
not
society,
not not really,
yeah.
really. It's not that much to unpack for me. I mean, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm saying it's not a lot to unpack because I know exactly how I feel about it.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm here to like have open discourse to get my mind changed, perhaps, or we're just gonna agree to disagree, or maybe I'll just offend you or something. Um, but my thoughts are like, bro, a dollar ain't gonna do shit, man.
To help,
I was
right?
homeless before, and if I give me a dollar, man, what am I gonna go buy some fucking bubble gum? You know, what the
Yeah,
fuck am I gonna
yeah.
do? Give me $100 and I'll go buy some weed and I'm good for a week. I'm still fucked. Okay, you
Hmm.
can't do shit for these people. Okay, they're fucked. They're just fucked. Like if they go out and get a job, they'll be cool. But while they're in their homeless mindset, they're fucked. So do what you can, man. I commend. You're a good dude. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
Yeah.
you're one of the best dudes I've ever encountered in my life. But your dollar ain't gonna do shit. All right, give it to him. Don't give it to him. Light it on fire. You might as well just burn it. Okay, you just give it to them. Don't give it to them. They're fucked, dude. You can't help them. You can't help
Yeah.
them. All
That
right,
kind
they.
of that kind of leads to the question of like what is the more significant like societal change or like organizational kind of change that brings like meaningful difference to these people. And there's also like associated question of like what are those the people that are actually asking for money on the streets, like what is that lifestyle like? But
Uh,
both those things,
I mean,
yeah.
I gone through a couple weeks of homelessness, and it it's not something that I like share openly. I'm sharing it now, but
Yeah.
with people that I'm close with, or for the podcast, I'll go deep. I'll share my vulnerabilities. I'll explain what I went through, but um, I don't know exactly what it's like to like really be on the streets. You know, like for me, it was just kind of like little social experiment of my own when I was in the shitter. Like, let's see what it's like. You know, let's go sleep on the street. But um, it's nice that you try it. You try. You know,
Yeah.
the th- the thing is, since I've kind of had a taste of it, like just a little taste. Like it's
Yeah.
not like I spent a year on the streets. You know,
Yeah.
I had a little taste. You know, but from that experience, homelessness is a something that's kind of on my mind. I won't say that I'm out there trying to solve it. I think about it. I think about things like we spend billions of dollars, you know, sending satellites into space, doing whatever experiments, and there's homelessness. And for me, I kind of can't connect those two things, like because there's got to be some kind of reason that we do all this, but then we can't solve the most basic problems like feed people and house people. Maybe I'm just a little bit too socialistic or democratic in my thought. I really don't lean left or right. I look at everything on an issue by issue basis. That's kind of where I come from.
Yeah.
So, while on some issues I might agree with the Republicans, some issues I might agree with the Democrats, and most of the time I think they're both retarded.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say I'm in the middle. I would just say I'm removed from it and just I can't really believe what's going on sometimes. That's kind of my take on politics. I was a philosophy major in school, so
Oh shoot.
maybe I'm a little bit used to looking at things and going deep and really figuring out like what are we really arguing about here, and I always play devil's advocate with myself, more so to really challenge myself to see, and I'll always change my mind because as a philosophy major, you look at both sides of an argument, right? You look at
Mhm.
the side that you initially agreed with, and you're like, you shake your head, and then you look at the other guy's side, and you're like, well, he has a point, and then like,
Hmm.
really it, and let me explain it to you, right? It always comes down, every argument comes down to literally the same thing, okay? It comes down to balancing two things only. Okay, it comes down to balancing the utilitarian, meaning the what decision, if you only have two decisions, what decision is the greatest good for everybody, right? And then so, they if you could measure happiness on a scale, right? What decision benefits the greatest amount of people and generates the most amount of happiness, right?
Okay.
Versus, and then that's literally called utilitarianism. Utility equals happiness, right?
Got it.
So which,
Okay.
what makes the most amount of happiness, right? But
Mhm.
the danger is that, like, okay, for example, like let's say we do some kind of policy and that feeds most people, right? But what if this policy is like, okay, we take, the poorest 10% of people, we kill them and eat them, and we solve world hunger. We'll just Hunger Games. All right,
Oh shit.
we'll take the poorest 10% of the population, put them in a meat grinder, and feed them to everybody. And okay, well that solves hunger. That solves a lot
Interesting.
of poverty things. And then so the other side of the coin is there's Kantian ethics, right? So although the utilitarian view would be like, oh, that solves all the problems. But then you have people over here saying, well, look, guys, some things that we just can't do in society: murder, rape, torture, right? And then so every decision boils down to what? So you could see how if you're balancing utility, it can lead you down a very dangerous path of doing some really horrible things based on that decision. Um, but if you go too far down the other way, saying, so the people on the far right will be like, hey, there's some things we just can't do. We can't kill people. We can't murder people. We can't rape people. And I think we would all agree with that, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
how about war, right?
Hmm.
Then you justify murder for whatever reason. And I think we can all agree that, well, if we get attacked and we're defending ourselves, well, then murder goes out the window. We can kill people if we're defending, but where do you draw that line? Well, do we invade another country and then murder's okay? And now you're justifying murder, and then now everything's on the table. So everything boils down to a battle between utility and Kantian ethics. It's like, are we just going to say there's some things that we can't do? And then on the other side, well, what's going to be the best decision for everybody? And you may have to sacrifice some lives for the greater good. But how many lives are okay to sacrifice? And apparently, it's okay to send billions of dollars into space and let people starve to death. So someone made that decision along the way.
Or yeah, that's interesting. Like all three of those kind of discussions, like Kantian, I imagine that's Immanuel Kant.
Yeah.
Kant.
Hmm.
I'm super curious, kind of what fundamental principles or ethics kind of lie there. Um, the utilitarianism, that's super fascinating. So you're almost saying, like, in that situation you posed, the 10% um, needs to be sacrificed for the 90% to survive or do
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that, of course, that doesn't count the well-being of the 10% or that 10%. Um,
No, they're factored in 100%.
okay, okay. So
Okay, if
like
you look,
that's the best possible
if
outcome
you
out of
don't
all the
do
different
if you
outcomes,
don't
something
do
like
that,
that.
everybody starves to death.
Got it.
Okay, so
Got
you
it.
have to kill them so the 90% of people have enough to eat, right? So it's factored in. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay. I Cool. And then what you're saying about, like, um, our current situation where there's people starving to death, and we're also sending billion-dollar rockets into space.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's not a single active decision, right? It's a byproduct of a series of decisions, a series of historic events.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
the way our government's structured,
Mm-hmm.
it's because our government was founded in, what, 1776 or something.
Mm-hmm.
What,
Mm-hmm.
like, if we built our country today, it would be a lot more efficient. Like, I don't think we would have, I don't know, all this kind of stuff. Electoral college, the
Mm-hmm.
way we elect, like, a state legislature
Mm-hmm.
separate from, like, federal government, and all this federal posts and all that kind of stuff. Like, it would be a lot more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So that that's like a big thing about how I see, like, kind of the lost in the shuffle, the grind where people get lost in the shuffle. Um, it's like large organizations where somebody makes, like, a single decision, and
Mm-hmm.
they have to, for efficiency. Like, that's the scale at which like organizations, corporations, countries, states operate. Like, you have to at some point, or else nothing happens. But um, it kind of has a huge ripple effect. And I think as we go in the future, that's our opportunity to pinpoint, like, where like there's friction between the human and element and the structures,
Mm-hmm.
and bring attention to those. And we can use technology, or social media,
Mm-hmm.
just attention, proper attention, the right people that know how to fix it. And,
Mm-hmm.
like, that's where we can kind of make like government and like all these structures a lot more efficient,
Mm-hmm.
and humane. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where we're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's our opportunity for people that care in those fields.
When you just went on that long rant about humanity and government, the thing that I was on my mind, Elon Musk. I think that's exactly like I'm like, you sound exactly like Elon Musk, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's like, you know what? Fuck all you guys. I'm gonna make electric cars. Fuck what you guys are doing. I'm gonna go send satellites into space and give free internet to everybody. Fuck transportation in LA. I'm gonna do Boring Company and you guys with your fucking trains and shit and subway. You guys don't know what you're doing. I'm just gonna do it myself. All right.
Yeah, and he's doing it masterfully in the capitalist context, the capitalist framework.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's the most inspiring part, like, learning that, and, like, trying to apply that to all the other social endeavors. Like, that's where, like, things are going to be fun. Yeah.
And to kind of backtrack, he's done it for and I didn't even Solar City. He's like, well, we're just gonna give energy to everybody and make it as cheap as possible. And before that, he was like, well, fucking Visa, Mastercard, fuck you guys. I'm gonna make PayPal, right? So he just
Yeah.
goes and he just crushes and just solves world problems one by one by one. He's
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
one man. Imagine if we had like 10 Elon Musks, right? But you have rest in peace. But you had Steve Jobs, where just like, I'm just going to make a phone and keep all the profits. You know, fuck
Dude.
solving the world's problems. I'm just going to keep it all and buy a yacht. And I don't know, man. I don't know what he did with his money. Maybe he donated it. I don't know. I'm just
I,
talking shit at
I
this
will I
point.
will say that, like, um I don't know, like, Apple seems to be upholding the do no evil motto
Hmm.
more than Google is.
You think
Um
so?
yeah, yeah, as far, well, okay, I don't know about the ethics of their manufacturing,
Name one
but
Apple product that's free, man. Come on.
Okay, and it's all siloed, and but all their products they like over engineer like the quality of their.
Do no
Oh man.
evil, but charge $2,000 for a phone. I mean, come
Right.
on, bro.
So if money isn't an issue, and for most people, most of the time it is, but
Name
if
what?
it
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah. Okay.
so like the way they handle like privacy, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they did not give up their iPhone backdoor willingly to the U.S. government. They're like on top of privacy trackers. They had
Dude,
Siri out before like all the other Cortana or whatever before
I
Alexa,
call
right?
bullshit on all that. Whatever,
Okay, all
backdoor,
right, yeah. So
whatever,
like that's all like
backdoor privacy, whatever. We think, dude, whatever, man. I just assume the NSA is snooping on
uh,
my internet, whatever.
yeah.
Backdoor, that's just blah 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 to me. Okay, I'm a very practical guy. Okay, maybe this is like a Republican viewpoint, but if you're not breaking the law, oh, who cares? Okay, if you're breaking the law, then maybe you have some whatever. Okay, I'm not gonna go there. I'm just saying, right? Name one thing that Apple gave away for free, and then name one thing that you've paid for that Google uses. Okay, maybe whatever they have evil intentions now. Look, they have when you go public and your interests are with the investors, then they're then you're fucked. But in the big picture, they maybe have started out with good intentions, and that
Mm.
now they're too big for their own good. They're fucking monopolies. They're all monopolies. But I'm a very practical guy, man. Like, let me see what I have. Uh, this is a hand me down from my girlfriend. All right, iPhone 6.
And still
Before
running well, right?
fuck yeah, and then I'm before this. She just gave this to me because she got one of the newer ones. And then I still use the iPhone 5S really as my main phone. I don't really like this because this doesn't. Yeah, perfect. The iPhone 5S was the best phone out on the market. It fits in your pocket. It's slim,
Yeah,
and mine
dude.
still
It's
works.
like the Nokia. Like, it's just lasting for yeah.
I've dropped it, and then maybe the screen cracked, but it's still in good shape.
Yeah, dude.
This
It's
thing's
only because they
yeah,
kept all their money and they put it to R&D, dude. That's why their products last. Like I don't think you could say the same for an Android phone that came out the same year.
yeah.
I so there's that.
That
That's kind of
that's fine. They make good products and they charge money for it. But how are you gonna say they do no evil? I'm not gonna go there. Like
yeah,
no,
yeah.
I'm gonna give them neutral. They didn't do no
Okay.
good. They didn't do no evil.
That's
They're
fair.
just the profitable business.
Okay.
I don't expect much from them, but I'm just saying. Every Google is pervades my life. Okay, I'm using
Absolutely.
the browser that's free. I'm using Google Docs to type my notes as you're talking. I'm using email that I've had for 15 years that they never charged me for. I haven't maxed out my 15 gigabytes of space, and if I do, I'll just make another Gmail account. I'm using Google Photos. I don't know what other amount of program I'm using. I haven't paid for cell service for 10 years because I've been using a free Google Voice number that was that given to me in 2010. Google has saved me a lot of money. So if they're doing evil shit right behind the scenes, I'll have to balance that with how they're benefit. So it's a utilitarian. Maybe they're killing kids in Africa, but they're doing good in my life. So maybe I'll look the other way. I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know everything. And this is why I kind of remove myself from politics because I didn't tell you this. I was double major. I was double majored in philosophy and econ, so that I know how complicated this shit can get. Like you mentioned, if you build something for the ground up, government business, it's gonna be more efficient than if you try to mess with it while everything's moving. You can't just rebuild it while parts are moving. It's just not gonna happen, right? But it would look a lot different that if you were to build it from the ground up, it would be efficient and you would think things through, right? I don't know what else to say, man.
There's a lot, and yeah, like just exploring what corporations do is maybe like a separate thing, and how each one treats consumers, how they handle data, that's a whole other thing. um, and then also what each of those companies maybe does, um, more like how they influence other countries or like larger entities to manage their supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, I mean, so like Apple has a physical supply chain. Google, they need to make sure that they have access to data. So all right, so I'll kind of jump. Obviously, so
Mm-hmm.
Google, they didn't do give free email for pure altruism. They were the first, like in hindsight, this is what we learned. But I was like right there with you. Gmail was the first one to have like a really clean interface, and give free large storage. They gave like that constantly uptick counter of storage space. But that was to grab your data, and before that, nobody had really collected data on that scale.
Mm-hmm.
And they were the geniuses that realized how valuable that data was.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably the farthest along for, I mean, you could argue, but like for AI, right? Like that machine learning, GPT-3, like their shift, yeah. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's crazy, like learning, yeah, learning the growth of Google and how they've kind of branched out into different stuff, um, and how they've kind of secured their data source. I think data is, like the stream of data is the key to having successful AI. All these like tech companies, if you don't have that stream of your own, then you're not going to be able to compete when that as that grows bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's still on the low key right now. Like it hasn't taken like been super obvious, but it's really quickly going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree with all that. I mean, no, you're right in that they're not altruistic. It's just a freemium business model, same as the games that get you addicted and make you buy the microtransactions. Is I don't look at
Yeah.
it the wrong way. It is what it is. Yeah, they're not. See, I don't. And I was saying earlier, right? Like do I really think they're a do no evil? No, that's just some bullshit that makes their consumers feel good. I know what they're doing. They're selling our info. They sell ads, right? They use our information and they sell ads on it.
Yeah.
We all know that. Well, maybe not all of us, um, but I'm a lot more grateful to a company like Google that doesn't charge me for its products, and
Mm.
they use my information, dude. What am I gonna do with it, right? Fucking use it. As I have the option to click on this ad or not. Like here's what I don't really get. People get offended, you know, like show me an ad, okay, and they get offended that fuck it, man. Well, fuck it. I got more important things to worry about, like rent, dude. Like
I think
eh,
it's absolutely awesome that we have that choice. But we've also kind of slipped into this world where we don't realize that we have the choice anymore. And sometimes it just takes a breath on the other side, or just realizing that, just how valuable your data is, like, um, and seeing other countries legislate for personal data. And like, imagine if Google had to buy that back from you, like, they'd be paying, yeah, like you'd be getting a lot more, and interactions might be kind of different. But just exploring just the way that tech society has kind of, we've kind of just gradually shifted towards that and the way it's affecting us. Um, I think it's fascinating. And I don't know, like overall, it's tough to change unless we just focus on like the focus on the best parts of it, and like kind of hop from like good choice to good choice. And um yeah, like just use, and I don't know, just our attention will speak for itself. And I think it's sometimes we don't claim that back enough.
mhm.
Yeah. But I don't know, like that's like a kind of a circular, kind of a heavy topic, and depends like what context and what information you want to discuss, and where you want to bring the conversation of like um, tech companies and corporations, and what they're doing and how you see the future. There's a lot of cool topics there. I don't know, just like quantum AI and but yeah, those would probably be cool if you brought like people like more personally involved in those. For
Yeah.
me, it's like it's just like consumer um, until maybe I dip a hand or dip a toe or two into those fields.
Well, I mean, I can be like a little bit ignorant having opinions on things I don't fully understand, right? But I'm gonna fucking have my opinions anyways, just like
That's true.
everybody else, okay? So, on that note, right, I, and it can seem like I'm like defending Google and the big companies, and then tomorrow I might have a completely different opinion based on our conversation and what I've realized. That's the drawback and maybe strength of being an open-minded person. I may seem like I have a hardcore stance, and then tomorrow I may change my mind. That's just the nature of being your own devil's advocate and being willing to change your mind, which I wish more
It's a great
people
mindset.
were like me. If more people were like me, though, I don't know, man, because I'm a pretty lazy individual, so nothing would get done in the world. You know, nothing would be getting done. Okay, the world will come to a screeching halt because I don't like to work. I like to talk to people on my podcast. Okay, but then who's running the scene? Who's like making the technology happen? Making this, making this video connection possible. You need people to work. You need the slaves behind the scene to go to work, and that's not me. Okay. That being said, uh, let's backtrack. The people that care about their data being sold, I'm not one of them. Take my data and give me Google Voice. Take my data and give me Gmail. You know, these same people, are they gonna fucking pay $10 a month for their email now? And then they feel entitled to have Facebook for free. They feel entitled to have Google for free. You know what, man? If I had Google back in high school, man, I'd be fucking cheating my way through all the tests. You know, I would be like, what's the answer to this? What does this word mean? I've had all these fucking cheating tools, the goddamn Apple Watch. I would be fucking valedictorian, you know? I would just be like, wow, writing a paper is so easy. Google this, Google. I don't even know what it's like to be in school right now. I'm 37 years old. I was using dial-up AOL and trying to run Doom 2 on like a 10 megahertz PC, and we had to have extra RAM through our floppy drive. I don't even know how that makes sense, you know?
That's
Like, hey,
insane.
fucking extra 5 megabits of RAM, megabytes, whatever. So these same entitled Karens that are like, oh my God, my data, give me my data, and then be like, all right, do you want to pay $1 a month for your email? Wait, no, email's free.
Some people do. Some people are very happy to in Silicon Valley.
Okay, well, you know what? We don't
So there's
all
that
we're
shift.
not all shitting money out of our fucking assholes, okay?
Yeah.
So, you know what? Before you do thing and fuck it up for the rest of us, you know what I'm saying? No, I want Gmail for free and you can have my data, okay?
Absolutely. So that's why I kind of framed it like I did before. Like I think it's absolutely amazing that that is the free tier,
Yeah.
right? Like and that kind of sets the bar for a lot of other stuff. They do it to gather data. There are some kind of caveats to the way the system is. First, like I guess like just some mistakes. Like if you have bad actors with
Mhm.
that data,
Yep.
you can do some stuff. Uh, Plus, like there like the if you're like depends like what other data can get targeted. Like you can focus in on like a region, a certain demographic, and I have no doubt that they have like you're saying well, okay, that goes into speculation, but I've
Mhm.
like the NSA stuff, and they have a profile for every person that starts getting into all this kind of stuff. But um,
Like Elon Musk's co-founder for PayPal, Peter Thiel.
Alan,
He's in everything, and he's the evil man. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Sorry, Peter. Hello. I know you're watching me right now. I mean, I'm not even
is he
kidding.
in Palantir? Is he doing
Yep,
Palantir?
yep. So
Hmm.
he
Yeah, the
what you're
government
yeah what you're
contracts and
just
stuff, right?
talking about. He's the man be doing evil shit behind the scenes. He's literally the guy that is using all this data for evil things. And I don't, yeah.
Hopefully he at least he interprets it as utilitarian,
Yeah,
right?
he thinks he's doing good, and
Mhm.
he's helping catch bad guys, but he's probably catching good guys too. He's
Yeah,
probably,
yeah.
I'm gonna have the FBI knocking at my door, be like, hey, be like, shut up, Omar. We don't want you giving our secrets away. But I'm not saying anything new. I think people kind of know these things already. Um, let me get back to something. I don't even know what you do for a living, Truman. What do you do? Like, what is your day job?
Yeah. So I do. I work with a team of therapists that have a couple clinics out in Denver
Mm-hmm.
that focus um, on therapy for developmentally challenged children. So like kids with autism or other kind of challenges. They've got it down. They're super connected with like a lot of PhDs, masters. So super connected with like the latest research and like proven stuff that works. And they work to uh, bring that to kids. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the people, they have like a diverse set of cultures, and they also like financially challenged. The customer, yeah. So
Financially, you mean broke? No, I'm kidding.
yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly.
I've
So
never heard it put that way.
yeah, so like they also help that. They're happy to take the like so
Ooh.
yeah, they're just like friggin' awesome people. And so I do kind of remote IT with them and help out with a couple of the digital marketing stuff, digital presence stuff.
Do you live in Orange County or no?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
Close to Lakewood, like Lakewood, Long Beach, south of LA.
okay. How familiar are you with Asperger's since you work in the autism kind of therapist kind of thing?
Not familiar. So I've kind of, um, yeah. I mean, feel free to fill me in, but just kind of maybe a couple videos and yeah, yeah. Like so, it's some range of the autism
Mm-hmm.
spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for me, like I only base it on like kind of interactions that I've had with a couple kids
Mm-hmm.
in like personal life, and it's it's just it's just interesting, right? Like it's different types of communication, interaction, and reaction to different stimuli for me,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's curious what kind of sequences of stuff are required to get people to be like I guess socially adept, like society wise, not
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, not yeah, um, and sometimes it's just like training in a set of standard behaviors so that you can you know communicate feelings and get your desired effects and what you want out of that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think those aspects are fundamental across humans, like the desire to like communicate, and then the desire to like meet your needs, like eat, get comfortable, and just kind of interact with people.
So your interaction with your day job is mostly you work off site. Obviously, you're not in Denver. You're in Orange County, hundreds of miles away, and you do the IT and marketing for them.
Hmm.
Do you have a side hustle? Or anything you're
Yeah,
working on?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm still kind of like growing my like digital marketing chops and uh, just testing out all this stuff. So that's something I'm developing. But yeah, I work with another friend that uh, I met in like a prior life when I was doing Uber.
Mm-hmm.
That he owns a restaurant and grocery store equipment company
Okay.
that's been around for like 60 years. And yeah, trying to get him into the online space and connected to everything that needs to be done. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, he's doing a lot of good business. So just want to make it easier and just connect people more.
So is your side hustle doing your own freelance thing, or is it just you're working with him directly right now in a more like a partner kind of capacity, or what?
Yeah, yeah. I would say I don't know what even the difference between the two is,
Mm-hmm.
but just like projects or going there and like setting up his sites
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, if he has certain products that he wants to get
Mm-hmm.
out, certain deals. Yeah,
What do you work with in terms of you using WordPress or one of the website builders?
yeah. So that one I set up with like a website builder,
Uh-huh.
and
Which ones do you like to use?
I've checked out. So I've checked out Wix, Squarespace. I've also checked out another one. Friend referred me to like a single landing page one called Card. That one's
Okay,
really
I'm not
cool.
familiar with that. I'm like a marketing geek too, so I always just like to keep up on the current trends, you know?
Yeah. And then I'm kind of currently going to hop in. So currently hopping into WordPress and Shopify on recommendation for other people. Um, yeah, yeah. Like Shopify is one that people have mentioned a lot. So I'll hop into that. Yeah.
So yeah, his you didn't mention the one that like is my favorite website builder, which is Weebly, which Square bought them I don't know a while ago, but Weebly Weebly. But if you're doing e-commerce, then uh, Shopify is always a good option. I don't have a lot of experience with it. I know there was some when I initially jumped into Shopify. The thing that I didn't like was I mean, this is the problem you run into with a lot of the hosted platforms is customization and obviously they might have fixed things over the years, but it was like I'm a big SEO guy, right? So my main focus is on, you know, what am I gonna be able to do SEO wise? Weebly is by far my favorite of all those options, but then again, I've never done like a straight e-commerce only, and I know that e-commerce is everyone favors Shopify, but then I ran into trouble with Shopify because um, it seemed like they were very rigid in how they set up the blog, and it had the URL had to be named a certain way, and couldn't customize it. So immediately I was just like, for this, for I don't want to use Shopify. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm gonna revert back to WordPress. Now there's things I like and things I
Got it.
hate about WordPress too, but more recently I've been a big WordPress fan. I finally went in and figured out how to do it, and a lot more to learn. But because it's like the most cost effective option, right? You could
Yeah.
just launch 100 WordPress sites, no extra charge. Where each one of these new instances on a hosted site is another 10, 20, $30 a month, right? You know, on top of you have to buy the domain, but so there's drawbacks, and because I'm like a serial project starter, I really love the WordPress because you get a good hosting plan, and you pay your domain, and you're good to go. So and it's and then
How,
fully
how do you di-
customizable. Yeah.
okay? How do you differentiate between the sites, or is it do they just kind of are they like subdomains or something?
On a hosted plan, it's kind of shared hosting. Yeah, it is like on the back end, it looks like a subdomain. Um, but I mean, in the big picture, that doesn't matter too much. Like if you, and these are things that I'm not fully adept in. These are things that like you know, if I run into a problem on the back end, I'm gonna just have to call support, you know, help me through this. And if you're doing anything like super serious with trap, you don't want to use shared hosting. But but I always feel like, you know, you can move and stay when it gets there. Then you can, you know, that means money should be coming in, and then you can get a separate hosting account for that specific project. So while
Got it.
they're
Got it.
in like startup project stage, it's not a big deal, in my
Absolutely.
opinion. But if you're taking money from a client, then you might be able to up your hosting plan and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
just
All of
from one marketer to another. That's just kind of
the
how things go, right?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool to hear that you specialize in the
Mm-hmm.
SEO side, because like I can kind of like think about where I want to focus, but like having the heart to flesh out the like organic content or
Mm-hmm.
like fill out there like yeah, I know that I should build out a site to target this word, but then like actually doing that I'm like, oh, but so it's really cool, and I'm sure I'll kind of pick your brain a little bit on that, on your process and
Mm-hmm.
like what you enjoy there, and um what's been working for you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, like my journey,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I have like a lot of, so for me, my inspiration for getting into digital marketing
Mm-hmm.
is all these friends, like my friend Brian, who owns this company that's been around for 60 years. Um, and, they know their side of the business, and they have a website that's like 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they could benefit a lot from being online. And I have a whole list of friends and companies that are like this. They've run their business. They know what they're doing business wise, but there's just a lot of untapped potential there. So that was my inspiration, and I'm still kind of getting there and like feeling out what is like my toolbox for success
Mm-hmm.
for this situation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I am kind of progressing down this path, and pretty happy with like who I've interacted with, and um, yeah, I think, and like looking to like find people can do parts, because I know, so my experience with like social and digital marketing so far has been
Mm-hmm.
like it's not a one person thing. Like it, you know, you
Mm-hmm.
like you can kind of learn about each part,
Mm-hmm.
but like trying to undertake the whole thing, that's a not a recipe for success. So that's like been humbling, but
Mm-hmm.
also
Hmm.
finding people that specialize in each part, and like finding people that have found their niche in it, like
Mm-hmm.
that's really cool, because I can tell sometimes some interactions, or like you can tell there's like strong possibility there, there's like a
Mm-hmm.
seed in potential, and encountering that and just like learning, it's just like it's a good process, it's
I
a fun
agree,
process.
man. I mean, like you went full circle. You because you mentioned the word humbling just now, right? In terms of your marketing experience, and I had actually wrote that word down from the initial conversation we had because you said right now I can only speak from a really humble place, and but I think those two things were disconnected, right? Yeah, the humble place was a completely different place than the humbling marketing experience. Would you want to tell the audience about what did you mean in the initial thing that you told me before we got on the podcast about you saying right now I can only speak from a really humble place?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, so I don't think I'm exceptional,
Mm-hmm.
and I have approached a lot of paths with earnestness.
Mm-hmm.
And um, when I speak about my experiences, though, they are like they're from that frame of perspective. Like I've done like all these things, and I'm happy to talk about all the stuff that I've actually done,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be open about like, damn, like I failed a lot of stuff, or I'm kind of terrible at a lot of stuff, but it's still pretty doable.
Yeah.
Um, and like there's all these awesome fields, and I see like a lot of potential and like interacting with people. Um, but like all the stuff that I'm trying to make happen, uh, it's just a gradual thing, and I from like a very grassroots, like even someone that has no idea what they're talking about, as long as I'm like open and like honest about what I've tried and my experiences there, like this is proof that anybody can do these things, and that they are hopefully translatable and universal across everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I framed the rest of my ideals and goals in that with that seed, because ultimately they are trying to address very high ideals.
Mhm.
Civic participation, that's trying to change our country and the world.
Mhm.
Like the end goal there is like, if we didn't have to, there's so much stuff, but it's if everyone on the world was like ticking at the same, ticking at the same pace, thinking about the same working on the same projects, like we'd we'd be in like we could just decide on a project and send. There's so much waste going on all over there. So
Mhm.
and then there's other societal level problems that um you know that seem kind of impossible now, and I am pretty resolute that the way I like, if enough people are approaching this effort with good faith and we're thinking about it in the right way, like like we can actually make these changes happen.
Mhm.
um yeah, and all you have to kind of adjust for is just making sure that you take one step at a time, and just doing what you can, um and starting as simply and locally and just within your sphere of influence as possible.
Okay.
um yeah.
I'm just taking notes here. You said a lot of good things. Um, one thing I wanted to say at the very beginning of the podcast was I really like the frames on your glasses because I noticed those. Like, who do you see have clear frames? That's cool as shit, man. I got boring ass black frames. You're rocking. That's very stylish. And you can you tell me or the audience a little bit about those frames before we move on to some serious shit?
Dude, frames are pretty good. I don't know. I've had I've had like the super thin wire frames.
Mhm.
Those are kind of cool, but I had to leave those behind after a couple of years. This is actually the yeah. This is like a replacement set of a frame that I yeah that kind of got messed up in yeah, on a trip to NorCal.
Mhm.
I'll have to yeah, but these have been good. Yeah, and there's a lot sometimes, like sometimes subtle aesthetics kind of can affect your like mindset.
Mm.
So it's good to try things out, but I don't put too much thought into it, but I do kind of go with the flow, and just choose, like, I trust my gut, or
Mhm.
kind of yeah.
Well, uh, the reason I maybe wanted to draw some focus is because you seem like more a brainy guy. I mean, I relate to you in that sense. We're very in our heads. We're thinking about how to save the world, thinking about problems that just are impossible. We live inside our heads. Like we're not. Uh, I don't know if I'm speaking for you, but like some ways I'm practical, but in these thoughts that we're thinking about, it's not very practical. People listening in on this conversation might be like, "The fuck are these guys talking about? These are yahoos talking like just do like go to work, and like do something, you know what I mean?" And that being said, so you don't look like a guy that might like care what kind of shoes or what kind of jeans he's wearing. I don't know. You correct me if I'm wrong. Like, are you? There's like two kinds of people, right? Like me, I look like a homeless guy when I go outside. That's kind of what my girlfriend would describe me as. Like, wear just sweats and a t-shirt and a beanie, and who cares what I look like. And there are other people that just buy the designer clothes and have to have the newest this and just care a lot. So I didn't see you as that kind of guy. I could be wrong, but then you sitting here with like a really stylish pair of glasses. So I'm like, oh, what is the story there?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, because the situations you described, there's like levels to that,
Right.
right?
Yeah. 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 Like there's certain things we might care. We might look like a bum, but we want to wear a watch because for whatever reason, like so I don't really know, right? Or shoe.
Yeah.
You might be just into shoes, but not care about
Hmm.
anything else. So there's different levels, right? Different spectrums of what you care about in different articles of clothing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
me, I'm a beanie guy. Like I don't give a shit about anything else, but I just got a legion of beanies thrown up
Did
because
you
I
know
yeah.
beanies are called toques in Canada?
No, toques. I
Toques.
just toques.
So I go up there, I'm like, I'm cold, I need to get a beanie, and then they just stare at me like, you mean a toque? Like,
What?
where does that even where does that
I
even
mean, I,
come
I
from?
guess beanie is just as weird as toque,
Yeah,
right? They're like toque,
absolutely.
beanie, toque,
Yeah,
right? A?
yeah. I mean, so my aesthetic, I don't know, I appreciate the compliment for my frames,
Uh-huh.
but uh, I appreciate nice things,
Yeah,
but most of my like collection,
yeah,
um, it's like I I keep what I get.
yeah,
So sometimes I grab good stuff, and sometimes I grab like stuff because it's the cheapest thing,
yeah, okay.
or I absolutely need a coat for this, like, I don't know, a ski trip or something. Um, yeah, and so my vibe is just like, or my wardrobe, my aesthetic is like, it's like my history or something. Like if you ask me when I got something, I'll tell you,
Hmm.
or like what it's been through, and
Yeah, everything's got some meaning. It's got a story.
yeah, yeah. But I value a lot, most of the spectrum, um, and I'm not at the place to experience like the hidden chic ultra top end of the spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
like beyond the Gucci, Prada, all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff. That
yeah,
usually that's kind of like middle upper that are trying to show off or
yeah.
look a step higher. Then there's like kind of the level above that that I probably can't recognize yet. I can, maybe some stuff because my family does jewelry, so like some stuff I can, yeah. But in general, yeah, I mean, I can appreciate it, and I'm happy to I'm open to when like people are proud of it, or like low key proud of stuff. Like, yeah,
Well, then
I'm
that
happy to
that
share in
then
all that
that
stuff.
that makes sense now. If you come from a jewelry family, then that would make sense that you care a little bit about nice things, right? But not to the point where you're trying to show off. You have enough to appreciate things. And that there might explain it to me. I was trying to figure it out.
Hmm.
Like, where does a guy with these big philosophical ideas start even like noticing that he has frames, right? Like mine are broken. I mean, I'm like, but like I would care in the sense that like I don't know, the frames have meaning, like you look through them and like they're gonna be on your face for a long time, in that sense, and it really does, like you mentioned it, if it's a thing that can change how you feel about yourself, that's the biggest reason to care about it, right? If it's something on your face, that's huge.
Yeah.
Right? Like if the frames have, look, if the, I'm not gonna knock anybody on their clothing if it's like, well, even if a guy like cares about like the Gucci and the Prada, I'm like, who am I to say what makes someone feel good? But if the thing has some kind of like deep meaning or changes the way you feel, right? That's a great reason to care about it. But I'll go as far to say that, but then I feel like if you care too much about what other people think, that's where I'm a little like, come on, man, like get out of that zone. Buy it for
Yeah.
yourself, but not for other people, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Well, I think I beat that horse to death. Now I want to know about that whale picture. Is that just some random thing that came with the apartment, or does that have some meaning?
I like the words there, but it was here. It's two dolphins kind of
Oh,
leaping out.
okay, two dolphins. All right.
Synchronicity. That's a word I like.
Synchronicity, man. We've been experiencing a lot of that lately. I bet. Only reason I know that term is I kind of went through like a deep spiritual dive 10 years ago and was looking up these terms and then found the word synchronicity. So I
Hmm.
kind of know
You
about
read
it.
Carl Jung?
Yeah, I'm a big kind of philosophy buff, armchair psychoanalyst kind of guy. And I've been recently kind of re-delved into it, trying to figure out what my real archetype is and where looking at my shadow functions and things. I'm, if you must know, I'm an open-minded guy. I can't, I don't, I'm not a psychologist, so it's like I know I'm gonna be wrong, but I think I'm pretty sure about this part of it is that, and I think we can change archetypes depending on where we are in our lives as well. So we may not always be stuck on this one. I think they can shift or maybe not. I don't understand it well enough to be sure. But right now, at this point in my life, I am the wounded healer archetype, and I think that from just briefly kind of researching it, the wounded healer can often mistakenly identify as the healer. And that's a big mistake because if the wounded healer mistakenly identifies as the healer, uh, then he can become overconfident in his ego and then not recognize that he's actually the wounded healer. And so I think I kind of experienced that. I kind of realized that I'm a healer and I can do these things, and then it didn't really even know. And then the more I explored and found out, there's a wounded healer. That's interesting.
Fascinating.
Yeah, but literally my Zoom says I'm gonna run out in a minute and a half because I have the free version. It gave me a countdown timer, so we have maybe like a minute to wrap it up, and then I'll roll the credits. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds good.
Yeah. So how would you want to leave the audience? Maybe how could we even wrap this up? We have enough content, like I have enough notes to go on for 4 or 5 hours, so I wouldn't even know like what we would want to leave the audience with today, but I'll let you wrap it up. Yeah, you got a minute, man. You got a minute to leave the audience with something today.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I want to join like-minded people that, you know, we want to help. Like, I want to help get my life, your life together. But past that, like, the stuff that lights you up, the path, and finding other people that can help build that. I want to make that a community and make that a real thing, and just get a movement of people that are charged about the awesome stuff in life and shifting this perspective of the future to, instead of this doom and this craziness, and you're just getting by in life and just making sure that your life is there can be a connected, like, greater outlook, and anybody that kind of supports that.
Like and subscribe before I bust into a rap.
Well,
Cat tap, Matt sat, black hat.
I guess
fat,
that's the end of the episode. That's the end of my
Just
free
click
Zoom account.
subscribe.
Dang, man, Zoom be cutting us off here. All right, well, thanks Truman Chan for being on the show, and we'll see you next time on the Differences You show.